Hi there. Today, the 2nd of September 2024, Uranus and Taurus is moving into retrograde motion. So as we know, when planets go retrograde, it's all about going within and doing the inner work and looking at things that we need to rectify, sort out, make peace with, heal, whatever, within ourselves, rather than trying to do everything outside of ourselves. So it's usually a time where you can slow down a little bit with the retrogrades and actually look at what needs to be done in the background, rather than constantly being with pushing the on button and just go, go, go. So Uranus is the planet of sudden and unexpected change, as well as independence. And Uranus he's one of the planets that allows us or helps us to see everything from a higher perspective, like Neptune does. So Uranus and Neptune are those two planets that really ask us to look at things from a higher perspective. So with Neptune, he's asking us to look at things from a higher perspective, from more of a spiritual sort of perspective. But with Uranus, it's more about that higher thinking. How can I rise above the earth plane or the 3D way of thinking and look at things from in a higher way? And when we look at things from a higher perspective, we're stepping into our higher self energy, which means that we're out of the ego energy. And so that means that we can see things a lot more clearly and actually have a lot more emphasis and focus on what is for the highest good of all concerned, especially what's the highest good for you. So it's a really good time for us when it goes retrograde to really look within at what we need to heal and what we need to change. So Uranus, because he's the planet of change, he's often bringing things to us that we either don't want to change, don't think we need to change, or can't see why we should change. It's very confusing. But often what we find with Uranus, he's like, because he takes 7 years to move through a sign of the zodiac, to me, he's like the 7-year itch planet. So he's constantly reminding us that we must keep changing. When we stay the same, when we stay stuck in our comfort zone, we can tend to stagnate and rot. And that's never a good way to be. So Uranus is always pushing us, change is a good thing. I mean, change is the one constant. It's the one thing in this world that's never going to change or end is change. And so the more we can embrace change and make friends with it, the easier it can be. And this is what Uranus's job is to keep us on our toes so that we don't slide back into complacency and acceptance and all of the things that actually aren't right for us or aren't good for us. So when Uranus is in Taurus energy is a very methodical energy. It's an earth energy. It's very hardworking. It's very practical. But the big lessons that often go with Taurus energy are the ability to compromise and the ability to forgive. So when we've got Uranus there, what's going to happen, or what could happen for us while he's in retrograde, is things come up in your personal life that you need to forgive. And they could be personal things that you've never forgiven yourself for, or they could be things that you're still holding against another person that you haven't been able to forgive another person for. So because Uranus is all about curveballs, what could happen is things pop up that you never even realized you were still holding on to, or that you never realized was still an issue. Like somebody could pop out from your past that you haven't thought about in years. And when you do see them or do interact with them again, those old feelings come up as stuff that is unresolved or unforgiven or still sort of sitting there needing to be healed. So those sorts of things could very much happen. But also for yourself personally, you might find that you could be accused of somebody else of something that you've done that needs to be forgiven, or you could just find yourself, thinking about things or going over things from the past where you realize that there's energy that needs to be forgiven there because you're still holding on to it. So the easiest way to learn to forgive. Now, forgiveness can be a really difficult thing for a lot of people simply because, we get hurt. And Taurus energy is very, very sensitive. And I think it's often misconstrued because if you imagine that Taurus is represented by the bull, you don't look at a bull and think, oh, that's a sensitive little delicate creature at all. You look at it as a big, strong creature. And so this is why Taurus people are often underestimated for how sensitive they are. So the thing with sensitivity and the things that have hurt us in the past that we can't get over, we have to learn to accept them because they've been done. It's in the past. It's done. We can't fix it. We can't change it. We can learn from it, definitely. So we must forgive it. But we can't forgive something until we accept that it happened. We can't go around forgiving something where we're still thinking, why did that happen to me? And that was so unfair and it should never have been that way. And they did it. I didn't do it. You've got to accept that these things have happened to be able to forgive them. So this time of Uranus retrograde might bring up some things from your past that you need to forgive for yourself. And forgiving of other people too. Because when we forgive, we stop becoming the victim. And nobody wants to be a victim. Nobody wants to be that person. And so we've got to forgive, because that gives us the power to step out of victim mentality. So this is a really powerful time to look at what you're holding on to. What are you beating yourself up with still? Or what are you beating other people up with that you could just let go of? Because there's nothing to be achieved by holding on to old hurts and old pain. We learn from them and we move on. So when Uranus is in retrograde in Taurus, those are the sorts of things that could happen for us personally. On a more collective level, what we might find is more internal kind of stuff going on for a lot of people, where we sort of have to come together to see what differences bring us together. And this is a really important part of the evolution of the Earth plane at this time, is realizing that the differences that we share are what can bring us together. They're not meant to divide us. They're meant to bring us together and accept one another for being who they are. You do you, I do me, and that's all we need to do. That's all that it is. So we're going to get reminders about these sorts of things during this retrograde period. And a few other things will be coming up as well, because Uranus, of course, while he's in retrograde, will be forming different aspects to other planets. So I'll be popping in over the next few months of this retrograde period, which is from the 2nd of September until the 30th of January 2025. So during that time, of course, there'll be these aspects, and I'll be popping in to talk to you about how you can navigate those if, when Uranus is coming up against other planets, and how to make the best use of that energy. So enjoy this retrograde, get your ducks in a row, and don't be afraid or don't be scared to forgive and move on. Thank you. Bye.